What's up? Once again, it's me, Mr. M, from Project Paper Chase Records and GSA Industries. For this video, I'm going to be going through the rebuild process of a Digital Designs 3512. It's a 12-inch subwoofer with a 3-inch voice coil. In this particular sub and for this rebuild, I replaced all the soft parts except for the voice coil. The voice coil survived even though the sub had worn out. So I went through and redid the suspension, the cone, and then put the OEM dust cap back on. So let's get started. Well, I'm finally able to cross the border again to pick up subwoofer parts from the States, which saves me a considerable amount of money for rebuilding subs. In this particular case, I'm working on a Digital Designs 3512 3-inch voice coil. That's the original voice coil. Obviously, I had to remove the spider and cone assembly. Here's the dust cap, original dust cap. Still needs some cleanup work, but that's gonna be fine to put back on. And like I say, let's check out the parts and see how they fit. And this is a cone and spider assembly that I did my best to match to the original, which sadly could not be saved. That is our cone. This is a tall roll 12-inch rubber. I think it's foam rubber, but it's very nice tall roll 12 pressed pulp. So that, take a looky. Perfecto. And then we got this double stitched 7.5 by 3. See them. Ooh, very nice. Perfect fit. Yeah, that is gonna be absolutely beautiful. Anyway, there it is. Cone, spider. I'm gonna reuse the original voice coil and put this dust cap on here, which is again gonna need some cleanup. Very nice. Can't wait to hear it. So one of the things I found with the Digital Designs carbon fiber dust caps is they are zero flange, so it's literally just the carbon fiber dome, and they're also glued into place. Plus there's like a vinyl tape that they put over the glue. I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe it gives it a nice clean edge. I mean, I'm guessing it's probably to give it a clean edge. Anyway, removing the vinyl tape is something that I consider to be necessary before gluing it back into place, because what I'm going to have to do is glue the dust cap itself directly to the cone. I'll use a rubberized adhesive, either an E6000 or rubberized CA, and then once it's glued into place, I'll flood on top with the high temperature epoxy. That way I can get a nice even valley up to the edge of the existing adhesive so that you get a clean pool of epoxy, because it takes 24 hours to cure, so you can just warm it up a bit, let it settle into the cap. And anyway, that being said, what we're talking about is getting the tape off. And I mean, you could literally go around and pick at it, but what I found works best is methyl hydrate. It doesn't do any damage to the carbon fiber dust cap, but it makes removing the vinyl film very easy. I've almost gone all the way around the dust cap. I've got a little bit at the back edge here to still get off, but you can see there's no damage to the dust cap itself where I've removed it with the methyl hydrate. So the next thing I need to do is resize this. After I finish cleaning the spider seat, resize the inner inside diameter of the spider, because this is a little bit snug on the voice coil. It's not so snug that it really matters. I could probably center it anyway and just slide it down, but I like them to go on easily. I'm going to fill that gap with glue anyway. And then once I get that, the height set for the voice coil and the spider glued to the voice coil itself, the next thing to do will be to connect all the leads. You can see the pigtails coming up here. This is a reclaimed voice coil directly off of the original 3512. I did rewrite that on there, but that was how it looked before, so there's that. Anyway, I cleaned all the CA glue off to some degree anyway. It's not, you know, flawless, but it will serve its purpose. So one more thing to note is that the dual stitched linear flat roll spider did not come stacked. It is a single layer spider. I didn't order additional spiders. The original off of the DD Digital Designs 3512 was 4 layers. It was more of a cloth than the sort of Nomex style. I mean, these are they're similar, but they're a little bit firmer. So hopefully 2 layers will be enough. I happened to have a spare one in my random parts bin that's identical, so luckily that worked out, because I kind of want it to be a bit stiffer suspension to get slightly better SPL numbers. It will raise the FS value, but I'm not going to be too concerned about that. I just want it slightly stiffer. So what we're going to do to achieve that is laminate these together. So I'm going to have to do that before I set the coil height and glue this on. Now, I did mention that the cone sits a little bit high as it is, so there is going to be a little bit of additional height. It's probably less than a 1/16 of an inch. I might be able to modify the bottom of the cone slightly, just shorten it a bit. Maybe not, don't know. We'll see what happens when we get there. I'm not overly concerned about it. Sub's going to rock either way. But anyway, that's the next step. I got to laminate the 2 spiders together to give it a stiffer suspension. So that's what I'm going to do. I have the voice coil shimmed around the T-yoke, and I've got the spiders glued to the voice coil former. You can see a very small bead of CA glue in the valley there. The next thing I'm going to do is put the cone on and get that attached to the voice coil and spider. Normally I don't run the flat leads through the cone and connect the leads above, but I think in this particular case that's going to be the easier way to go, and I want to make sure everything's connected well, and I've got lots of play with the cone because I want the cone to sit right on the spider. So I'm going to have to notch it out for these. and make it a little bit bigger to fit around the voice coil former. It's a little bit snug going on, so we're gonna use the Dremel tool to this guy right here to open up the inside diameter a little bit. I've already started it. I can't see, it's probably hard to tell on camera, but I've already started opening up that edge right there, so it's just a slightly bigger inside diameter to fit over the voice coil former. Still a bit snug. I want it to drop on fairly easily, just so I can mark out where the leads are going to come through, so I can put slots in this before I glue it all in place, and then I'll solder the leads after the cone is glued on. Just finished soldering the leads. Not my prettiest work ever, but they both ohm out properly, so the connections are good. Lots of solder. Once I flood here with high temperature epoxy to get a nice thick bead holding the cone to the former, I will continue covering the leads with some kind of glue just to lock them in place so nothing's wiggling around inside the dust cap. Yeah, so the next step is to do some epoxy. I'm going to clean it first and then do some epoxy. And there is the high temperature epoxy flood around the voice coil former at the bottom of the cone where the two meet. It holds the leads in place. They're also glued to the former. They will be glued some more CA once the epoxy cures. The epoxy takes 24 hours to cure at regular temperature. I did heat it a bit, so it might be a bit quicker, but we won't be coming back to work on this until tomorrow. So I just finished building the cone assembly for the Digital Designs 3512. Here it is here. Leads are done. All the gluing is done. You can see the black bead of high temperature epoxy where the cone meets the former. All the gluing in there is done. You can see that little teeny bead where the cone meets up with the spider. I might do another little bead along here just to reinforce underneath. The last thing I need to do before I glue it into the basket is clean this seat a little bit more. It's not quite as clean as I would like it. I've re-drilled the where the direct leads are going to go through. I mean, you could put terminals here as well, but the original had direct leads and the owner wants direct leads on it again, so that's what I will do for him. And then I got to clean out the voice coil gap to the best of my ability, using an air compressor, maybe some acetone, various things, maybe not some acetone. The reason I might use acetone is because it dries really quickly, but the risk is that it will dissolve the glue that holds the slugs together if it sits for too long and soaks into the gaps. So I may or may not do that. I also could use some methyl hydrate to clean out the gap, the motor, because it won't eat the glue. And then we can just sort of spray it out with the air compressor and have a nice clean voice coil gap for the new cone assembly to sit in. Once the basket's clean, I will glue it all in one go. It's not screwed in, so I can glue the spiders and the surround all at the same time, then clamp it. Once that's glued, I will pull the shims out and put the dust cap on. I've also got to solder the direct leads to the flat tinsel leads that are coming off here and put shrink tube on them and stuff, but that'll be another thing. So we'll get the cone glued in and the basket cleaned first, and then we'll move on to the leads. So I finished attaching the direct leads, zap strapping them to the basket, shrink tubing them, etc. Then doing solder connections to a 1 ohm final load. It's a dual 2 ohm. So the next thing, I've glued obviously the basket or the cone assembly is glued in place. It's clamped right now. I ran a frequency sweep to test the coil alignment, make sure there was no rub. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is glue the Digital Designs carbon fiber dust cap into place. What I learned, which is new to me, is that the Digital Design dust caps do not have a flange on them. As you can see, it just goes to the cone. Now, what I'm talking about, if you're not familiar with this dust cap, you can see how it curls up on the outside. That's the flange. That's what you put the glue on, and how you glue it to the cone assembly. It's a really dirty one, but anyway, you get the idea. Whereas this one, it just terminates like that. They also put an interesting vinyl cover over the glue, which I have removed. I think I recorded the using methyl hydrate to remove that vinyl. So what we're going to do is, we've got this centered. Let's look at it. Does it look centered? Anyway, and I've weighted it to hold it in place with some coil wire for like headphone wires for headphone voice coil. Anyway, the cone is held in place. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to crazy glue it with spray. Then once we've got it glued into place, we're going to flood the valley with either a black crazy glue. The reason I'm not using this one to hold it in place is I don't have a spray activator for it, so it will take longer to cure. I want something that I can put on and cure instantly. This one has a spray activator, so I can glue it, spray it, and then the dust cap's not going to go anywhere. I'll apply a minimal bead just to hold it in place and seal it so that nothing can go below the dust cap and down towards the voice coil. It wouldn't matter because there's quite a high the former comes up almost an inch past where it meets up with the cone, so I'm not overly concerned about where it would go, but I just don't want it dripping down onto the cone. So we're going to glue this into place, and then we'll flood it after that, and then this speaker will be done. So there's the preliminary bead of CA glue holding the dust cap into place. There's a beautiful reconed Digital Designs 3512. Can't wait to throw it in a box and hear what it sounds like. I still need to add some adhesive on top of the dust cap. It's got a very, very thin bead. That's probably about 1/8 of an inch wide. The clear actually works well on the black. You can't tell that it's clear adhesive, but almost looks black because you're seeing the black behind it. But anyway, we will probably still use the Star Bond black because yeah, or even I might even use an epoxy flood on top of that. Maybe not, I don't know, I haven't tried, just because you get a little bit more time to play with before it cures, so you can get a nice level bead all the way around the seam. But yeah, looking pretty good. So that wraps up the Digital Designs 3512 rebuild. It's all glued together. I got the dust cap glued in with CA glue, the rubberized, black rubberized, reinforced. I should give it a wipe down just so it doesn't look dusty. But that is the end of that. So thanks for checking out this video. Hopefully you'll check out my other videos and hit that subscribe button.